basically from within my mind. I had not synthesized my sentences yet to that point. But of course, since it's in your brain, you know that it's floating around there. No professor made any comment, and I had already completed the required health course. Considering that Baltimore is number 1 or number 2 for lead poisoning during that time period of 95, 96, as I stated, I was supplementing the curriculum and I was penalized for it. But we continue. This is the fact book. Maryland Department of Education. As given to me and then told where the Maryland State Department of Education was, 200 West Baltimore Street. As I stated, the Maryland State Board of Education, Robert C. Embry, Baltimore. Mr. Embry heads the ABEL Foundation, and he was also Assistant Secretary of Housing. I just have students receiving special education services in Maryland schools by location. Handicapping conditions of students receiving special education services, 93, 94. There is no breakdown for lead poisoning. Total special education, 94,642. Mentally retarded, deaf, hearing impaired, traumatic brain injury, autism, speech, language, visually handicapped, emotionally disturbed, orthopedically impaired, other health impaired, specific learning disability, multiple handicap, deaf. Family Planning Perspectives, Volume 19, Number 4, July and August 1987. Adolescent Mothers and Their Children in Later Life. Frank Furstenberg and J. Brooks Gunn and S. Philip Morgan, page 142. More specifically, page 148. Adolescent Mothers and Their Children Life, Table 3, percentage of black adolescents aged 15 and 16 behaving in various ways by survey and mother's age at first birth. Baltimore, school achievement, ever repeated a grade, above standard class standing, school problems, parents brought to school because of behavior in past year, parents got note about behavior in past year, skipped school in past year, suspended or expelled in the past 5 years. Personal behavior, stayed out too late in the past year, lied to parents about something important, ran away from home, stole something, it goes on. To the best of my recollection in reviewing the article, there is no consideration given to lead poisoning and the effect that it has on behavior. When the Baltimore children were 4 years old, they were tested on several measures of emotional behavior, trust in others, self-esteem, ability to delay gratification. In all, they fared quite well, with their behavior falling well within the normal range. However, by 1984, the youth were exhibiting relatively high rates of misbehavior. 23% had run away from home at least once, 19% had hurt someone seriously in the previous year, and 11% had stolen a major item in that time. 1/3 had been stopped by the police at least once, and 32% of parents said that their children needed emotional or mental help, 12% or had received it 20% in the previous year. The Baltimore teenagers also engaged in drinking and drug use. 60% of all the teenagers interviewed said that they had drunk alcohol, 25% had closest we're going to get to this right now as to ever determining whether or not the residents and the children of Baltimore City, well before the lead laws of 1977, you're never going to know whether or not there was experiments concerning the effects of lead paint, indoor or outdoor, on the children. The only thing that you know as an example is that you have Grimes versus the Kennedy Krieger Institute, where direct mention is made to therapeutic and non-therapeutic research. The FURSTENBERG CRAWFORD studies on Baltimore, not only for this nice little discussion that they left concerning a gaping hole of the effects of lead poisoning on children, but also the internal movement when mothers who are really children become mothers, and they are separated by their mothers and fathers and maybe grandmothers who supplied extra money for child care to the house. What can one say about the ideological forces that places the environmental conditions of a Maryland crab and the historical restoration of the constellation above the stabilization of the environment of a leaded child? What can one say about political leaders who place the guaranteed building of a stadium for the signing of a football team above the health and esteem of a poisoned child? What can one say about political forces that can find the money to finance sports but cannot find the money to educate its children on lead poisoning prevention or in tracking down landlords who have abandoned leaded buildings? I would venture to say that for as long as the Baltimoreans have been mourning the loss of their cults, they have been avoiding the environmental crisis of the century. According to the Coalition for a Lead-Safe Environment, Baltimore City has approximately 300,000 houses built prior to 1978, which means lead in household paint. The older the home, the more damaging the effect. Baltimore City ranks second in the United States for lead poisoning cases. In 1993, 7,500 poisonings occurred in Baltimore City. In 1994, Maryland spent $701.5 million on special education. The laws concerning lead in the child consistently favored the landlord or slumlord. House Bill 1215 from 1973, title Health, subtitle Nuisances, in Fishkind Realty versus Sampson Rent, still had to be paid before repairs. It was placed in escrow. The level of concern for chip paint was 4 feet high. House Bill 760 realizes that one property owner can own up to 300